Thank you very much for being here, everyone, and hello to our audience, whether that's listening now or listening in the future. Um, my name's Miranda Barker. I'm the Chief Executive of East Lancs Chamber of Commerce, but also I'm an environmental consultant, which I have been since around 1993. And the whole development of Chamber Low Carbon and now the REDCAT project on top of that comes from a desire to try and really grow the whole ecosystem of support that we need to take Lancashire and all of its businesses towards a low carbon future, but in a profitable, successful way. And that includes really supporting Lancashire's advanced manufacturing heritage to move into low carbon technology development. It's a huge field. If I'd said this 3 or 4 years ago, some of you would have said, yeah, we can see how it's a huge field. But now, having got to the point where you've got Boris's 10-point plan, where you've got the profile that net zero has, you can see that it's a really huge opportunity for Lancashire, its advanced manufacturing expertise and its excellence as an exporting area. And we really need to grasp hold of this and embrace it. So the development of the REDCAT project came because after many years of supporting people developing new low carbon technologies, we realized there was a great big gap in the market. There was lots of innovation and success in our universities, especially in Lancashire, in Lancaster, Edge Hill, and in UCLan, in supporting people getting their early stage piece of technology developed and having a prototype and saying that, great, there you have got some testing data that shows that that works. But there wasn't then ongoing support in a joined up way. So I was working with people who would take a decade to go from I've got a prototype to I've got a bit of testing data to, okay, how do I get a bit of funding to produce the next stage of a prototype? Okay, I've got that. Now, how can I show that to anybody? How can I get that to be seen by a customer, whether in Maine, in the USA, or in South America, or in Norway, or how can I get that customer to be able to see this? How can I build the first full-size version? It was all broken up into lots of small pieces. It really wasn't helpful, and it could take you a decade to very painfully develop your product to the point where it was on a shelf with a price tag and the world could see it. So we wanted to sort of create all of the different layers that were needed in that ecosystem to develop those technologies and to accelerate that and make sure that the same things didn't happen with low carbon technologies in Lancashire as has happened to the UK with jet engines and hovercrafts, where they've been innovated in the UK, but then the manufacturing and the money and the jobs has been generated in the rest of the world. Wanted to make sure that the benefit of that manufacturing expertise and the jobs really came as close to home in Lancashire as it could do. And then we were developing those technologies and sending them out into the world for global benefit. Next slide, please. So this is looking at the whole of the benefit from having low carbon technologies being developed within Lancashire, but then how it spans out into all of the different areas of our own ecosystem. So the green wedge is really the one that talks about making sure we're seeing carbon reduction, we're seeing low carbon technologies being developed and adopted. So very much why Chamber Low Carbon is there as a program to support all of our business community moving in that direction. But if we are supporting our innovators, then you get the red wedge too. You get the things that are being made in Lancashire. You get our manufacturing expertise and our expert advanced manufacturers being supported in developing new low carbon technologies. And that's all the more important post-COVID, because of course we've got expert manufacturers in automotive and in aerospace, and those markets at a strategic level have been really depressed by COVID. So anything that can provide additional product lines or additional innovation that those businesses can take advantage of and be supported to manufacture is going to help keep those expert jobs and help keep our exporting happening and broaden the base of that exporting. So we've got those people and that equipment ready and willing and able to move into this area. So we wanted to make sure we were supporting people in advanced manufacturing moving into this low carbon field of expertise. And then, of course, with that blue sector, you get the jobs from that. There's an awful lot of jobs to come in the UK through COVID. We've got around about 250,000 jobs in it now, and around about 800,000 jobs indirectly supported by low carbon. That is only going to rocket upwards. We've an awful lot of businesses who are wanting to move into installation of low carbon technologies, so ground source heat pumps, air source heat pumps, as well as the manufacturing. And then we want to send those technologies into our international fields and make sure that we're supporting companies, countries, communities overseas in having renewable energy generations and low carbon technologies in their local area, rather than having to go through the same process of oil and gas and very polluting energy technologies. If we can assist overseas communities in adopting renewable energy technologies faster, that's not only good, obviously, for us in terms of manufacturing those, it's brilliant for the global climate effort and making sure we try and accelerate towards a clean way of operating. Next slide, please. So this is really, really wordy, and I apologize that it's not going to work very well on camera. But hopefully, if you've got copies of slides that are being sent out to attendees, you can see this in more depth. But really, to guide you through, the pale green boxes just underneath the center of the slide, those are the elements of the REDCAT project. And this was trying to show how this worked in a larger ecosystem with the pale blue boxes, which is the Advanced Manufacturing Research Centre. Because at the same time we were applying to government for £1.5 million worth of funding for REDCAT, which is there to provide capital funding for people developing those new low carbon technologies, something which you really can't get, early stage capital. If you're trying to build that new low carbon technology and you've got a good idea, you've been supported through a university, and then you think, how do I take my technology forward? How do I get that first bit of funding to fund my prototype or to fund my first customer development partner project? That's what REDCAT's there for. And we work in partnership with the Advanced Manufacturing Research Centre and its low carbon demonstrator, which has also been funded with £2.5 million of funding from the same source. So we work in partnership with the MRC. So the first green box says we're looking to help companies identify if that technology they're developing is viable, what it should be made of, how it's actually going to get that initial funding from us to take it forward, and then how you can work to find out about your market, to find your first customer, to work in partnership with your first customer to get your first product into their manufacturing environment and into their business. So then you've got the data so you can advertise what you're doing. And then using the low carbon demonstrator, you can demonstrate that product to customers coming from all over the world. So REDCAT is there to provide that early stage capital funding and to help you work with people like the British Business Bank and the Northern Past Investment Fund and other global funders to help you fund the whole of your journey in an accelerated way. So that product is on the shelf being manufactured in Lancashire and available for sale as soon as possible. So we work with the whole of the ecosystem locally to support you on that journey. And my last slide just shows you how that ecosystem all fits together. So if you could see the last slide, please. So as you can see, REDCAT's in the center there, but let me guide you through the rest of this. So the dark green ones, Chamber Low Carbon, is that early point of support for not just companies who are wanting to adopt low carbon technology, but also companies who are wanting to develop new low carbon technology. REDCAT helps you pump prime the development of that technology and to find early investors and then to find equity investors later on in partnership with the British Business Bank and to help you take your technology all the way through to being a globally adopted solution. Just to give you a little idea of some of the other cogs on here, we're working to develop a low carbon skills academy now and in partnership with local authorities to have incubators for low carbon technology. We work down here on the grey slides, the grey cogs, with the Environment Agency and Electricity Northwest to help find high energy users and help them drive their adoption of low carbon technology. And some of the monies that come through REDCAT will go to generate climate resilience support for our local communities in partnership with the Environment Agency. And as mentioned, we're working with the automotive and aerospace firms to help them move into low carbon manufacture. So the idea is really the whole ecosystem is there to accelerate the commercialization of low carbon technologies, to support Lancashire's manufacturers and to then support those technologies going out into the world. And just as one example, we've got a company called River Power Pod Limited, developed through Fern Innovation, who now have a micro hydro device that was developed in support with all of the universities in Lancashire and some in Manchester, is being manufactured now, but is also now being manufactured in partnership with schools out in Kenya from recycled plastic and generating renewable electricity in their local communities. So that's just one case study. Are there any questions, please? If there aren't any questions now, I can always be reached through the team if you'd like to talk about the REDCAT project, or about if you have an innovation or an idea in low carbon technologies that you'd like to see, if any of the partners across Lancashire can help support. It's one of the areas that Lancashire feels is a really important future market for our manufacturers and our exporting community, and one where we can really lead globally. So more than happy to support in any way we can.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Miranda.
No problem.
All good. Yeah, so if we've got no questions, I think we had one that came and disappeared. Wonders of modern technology and gremlins and whatnot, but I think we do have the participants' email address, etc. So we'll be able to sort of formalise and summarise when the slides and things like that, if they go out, we'll be able to answer some of those questions that disappeared. I think it was just in and around funding, generally speaking, for low carbon technology, but that's obviously pretty much covered with what we do in a Lancashire based area at Chamber Low Carbon. And as you say, you've also got the option to get in touch with Miranda,
Chris,
or the chamber itself. Yes.
A comment in the chat about funding for carbon offset. I don't know if anyone.
Yes, that sounds right. I just don't have the chat for some reason, and I don't want to press too many buttons. That's all.
Yeah, we've got a comment about carbon offset. We're not directly funding carbon offset through Chamber Low Carbon or through REDCAT, for several reasons. One is that we would always be striving to try and help companies reduce their environmental impact, full stop on that, in their own businesses. Sorry, I have a dog. If he doesn't shut up, I'll stop talking. So just be quiet. So we're trying to help the companies reduce their carbon impact themselves within their business and within their supply chain, rather than actually funding offset. However, through the REDCAT Climate Resilience Fund, we'll be working with the Environment Agency to create forestry locally, which will be available for offset, but that shouldn't be the primary focus of any business.
If I can just come in there, this is Stephen, Chamber Low Carbon Program Manager. There is no funding for carbon offset because that is the business's responsibility. So there'll never be any funding for that.
Okay, so it doesn't look like there's any additionals as we've been talking about offsets and whatnot and potential funding. So I think we can close that up there. Is that okay with you, Miranda?
No, that's fine. Thank you very much. If there's any
Fantastic.
questions that come through about REDCAT, do pass them on. Thank you.
Fantastic. Well, thank you very much to our CEO, Miranda, for coming to speak to us about REDCAT today, and obviously being involved in Chamber Low Carbon and setting us up and setting us rolling. And flying the flag for low carbon energy and sustainability in Lancashire. Thank you very much.